When I spit bars in a rave, man, I go hard like Stanton.
All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of the Touchline Spurs sort of channel under the parent Touchline Fracas. Have I said that right? Fracas? I'm not sure I'm not sure what's the correct
Fracas. We'll let you off.
It's my first time hosting, but I'm sure I'll take it in my stride. I've got a lovely sort of cast or supporting cast with me today. We've got a special guest as well, but I'm going to start with some of the usual suspects. So, Sam, coming over to you. Got a nice backdrop in the background today. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Sleep deprivation is slightly wearing off. Month into newborn life and that. So, yeah, getting there.
Yeah. Ohio, how you doing?
I'm calm, man. Been a couple of days in London and that from Liverpool. My background isn't as cool as everyone else's. It's just a drip or lack thereof.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Okay. Era, how you doing?
I'm good, you know. Had a good week, man. Just been relaxing, taking in the documentary and that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. We're going to be talking about that in detail, of course. And Owen, how you doing?
Good, bro. Thank you very much. I'm trying to fight the sleep deprivation with this one.
Okay, brilliant. And obviously that leaves me with our special guest today, Guy Sports' very own Michael Bridge. How you doing, Mike?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Toby. Good to see you, everyone. Cheers. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, but I'm pretty sure the last time we spoke, you mentioned that you had a newborn as well, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I remember Sai was mentioning about his newborn as well. So I guess you two could sort of bond on the rigging.
Sleep all around them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Speaking of things that cause lack of sleep, let's get into sort of Tottenham. Let's get into Tottenham. So,
nice.
I mean, of course, unless you've been living under a rock, you will have seen that the All or Nothing documentary has obviously been released earlier on this week on Monday. Although I suppose I should probably call it the Jose or Nothing documentary, to be honest, because it's all about one special man. But anyway, I think there's no better place for us than to start with the sort of All or Nothing chat. So I just wanted to go around the room and sort of get some general thoughts on what you've sort of taken away from the first 3 episodes to have been released. So I'm going to start with you, Owen. What's your thoughts?
Just on the documentary overall, I think it just showed overall a very good side of Jose Mourinho's, or sometimes I like to call it Daddy's management. It was a very good mix. Like, a lot of people would talk about him in other clubs and talk about how harsh he is and how he doesn't really get players' mentalities, but he showed a good range, like not just being harsh with Aurier. I thought it was quite harsh to call him out in front of the whole changing room, but it was funny. He box office as well, but him putting an arm around Eric Dier and Dele Alli was a particular highlight for me.
Fair enough. I think there's a point you mentioned about the bit about Serge Aurier. And it was just like, because obviously from the outside looking in, everyone thinks that Jose Mourinho really, really rates this guy. And I'm sure to a certain extent, he probably sees some qualities in Aurier, but it's good that he at least acknowledges what we can see from the outside. And he's like, I'm worried for you when you're when you're a marker that you're going to give away a stupid penalty. So, I mean, what were your thoughts on doc? What were your big takeaways?
So I've been enjoying it. I actually caught a bit of my housemates have been watching the City one, so I caught a bit of the City one as well, just for that comparatively. I don't know if it's a Jose propaganda vibe or if it's purposefully been detailed to just sort of show this side of him, because, you know, normally anywhere a new manager goes, you do get that new manager bounce naturally. I want to see All or Nothing in Jose season 3, to be honest. That's what I really want to see, where the truth comes out. That's what the real balance is. Ain't that right, Errol?
The special one returns.
So Errol, speaking on the special one as well. So, as I sort of alluded to at the start, it seems like it's very sort of like Jose heavy. And I made a point about it when we were sort of dropping sort of like our first sort of initial thoughts. But I think this is probably for you and Sai as well. Do you feel like the club could have shown a bit more respect to Pochettino with regards to airtime on the whole sort of series as a whole? Or do you think it was sort of like their moral obligation to sort of like limit his camera time as much as possible and obviously pay more respect to sort of like the current gaffer?
You know, I think going into this, I was expecting to see, I guess, what we would call now Poch's downfall, looking back. And I wanted to see what happened. But I mean, actually watching the documentary, I think they handled it well. They handled it professionally. Like, they showed him, I thought they did show him respect. Like, it could have been a lot worse. They could have showed a lot more of the bad moments if they wanted to, I would assume. So I think they showed him respect. As well, I think Levy came across quite well as well. I think he comes across like he sounds like he cares about what people think about him, the fans.
Careful.
Well. Definitely cares what Mourinho thinks of him as well.
He definitely does. Yeah,
yeah, man. I think he comes across. I think Levy comes across really, really well in the documentary. And you know what? I don't think anybody's come across badly so far, man. I'm not trying to sit on the fence or anything, but I think it's early days. We've only seen 3 episodes, but I think everybody's come across in a good light so far.
Sai, what's your sort of like big takeaways then? Give something. I know you're itching to talk.
I think one of my favourite bits was when Sacramento comes in with the player profiles and he mentions that Sissoko is like one of the big personalities in the dressing room, and Mourinho's face just switched.
He's like, shit.
And obviously mention of Vertonghen being a warrior and Kane being the silent leader, which leads me to the funniest point. Is his team talks, the divide opinion to say the least.
Could be a little forced.
They're risky, you know.
I'm not sure if I'd be G'd up with the random F-bombs thrown in every other sentence, but I mean, whatever floats his boat, I guess.
Okay. Michael, so just your general thoughts on the documentary. I'm not sure if you've watched all the episodes yet. What's your views? What's your like, big takeaways? What has your sort of opinion on Mourinho changed after watching it? Has your opinion on Levy changed after watching it?
I think we do have to remember one thing, that they know they're attached to a camera and they know a camera's always there. You're absolutely right, all of you, when you say about the Mourinho show. I think he's very good at it. I think he shows a warmer side. I think he's a lot more friendly now. I think he also appreciates that. Let's not forget, when he got the job, it's probably the last chance of top 6 club in the Premier League. So he embraces it as well. There's a nice shot where he sort of grabs the shirt and sort of like kisses it. Now, maybe that is a bit of, you know, I've got a camera here, but I do genuinely believe he loves being here and he really appreciates being here. You know, when Poch got sacked, thinking, wow, I'm back in football, because, you know, he was working at Sky at the time, working on Sunday. So, you know, I do think he acknowledges that this is a massive, massive job for him as well, because if he failed again, then I don't really know where he goes in England anymore, you know. So I took that from it. I'd like to see, apparently episode 5 is really good. So I'm up to date like you. I've only seen as much as you guys have. Apparently episode 5 is very good. There's a lot of transfer negotiations. I took from it as well that I got told many moons ago that he tried to buy Dyer when he was Man United manager, and that, I think, has been very evident in the series. I liked the bits where you can see that they have absolutely no idea how to handle the Eriksen situation, because I, along with other journalists, were like, what's going on? You know, there wasn't any concrete interest. And it shows this on the documentary that they're really stuck what to do when Levy says, do you reckon you could ask him again, give him another? It's amazing for such a key player in this team that gets left to the last minute.
Yeah.
I'd say the best, from a TV perspective, the best shot of the series so far is the 60-second silence of Son when he's sent off. He's probably the loneliest man in football ground then.
Yeah.
You know, he feels like he knows deep down, like we could all own at the time, like soft red, but he knows deep down he's cocked up. And the wide shot of him just sitting there, I thought was really good. I think in long term, I think Spurs can maybe do something with Amazon as the company. So I don't think this is even maybe the last time we'll see Spurs with a series on this. There's just something I've got this feeling there's going to be some kind of partnership down the line. That's no info. It's just a view I've got. But yeah, I mean, it's been a solid start. I wouldn't say I'm bowled over. You know, I'm not like, oh my God, I never knew that. But I reckon it will get even better. I think they've probably cut a lot of the Poch stuff out for legal reasons. I was in it the October edition because I was doing live. I think it was Olympiacos at home. No, it was one of the games at home. It might have been actually. I can't even remember now.
Red Star. If it was a
Red Star, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was doing a live, and the cameraman came over and said, "Oh, really sorry, I was filming you without asking you. You know, we're Amazon. Would you mind being in it?" I was like, "Yeah, no problem." And it was a Pochettino press conference I was in, and they were sort of looking at me, but I'm obviously got cut out from that episode. But they must have cut a load out from Poch, and I'm assuming it's probably a legal thing when he left, because I don't know about you boys, but I'd love to have seen more Poch after 7-2. The Brighton 3-0. You know, there was so many things I wanted to see. So, yeah, I mean, as I say, I think it's very solid first 3 episodes. I think maybe I'm more interested in it because we support Tottenham. I don't think it's like, I don't know if you guys watched the Sunderland one. You're like, wow, you know, this club.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Netflix struck gold. They weren't supposed to get relegated. They were supposed to get back up, not go down. So, yeah, solid first 3 episodes.
Yeah. I think one thing you mentioned as well, which I wanted us to all discuss, is sort of the villainy around sort of Eriksen, because a lot of our fan base sort of perceive him to be this traitor who left us in and left like a bit taste in everyone's mouth. But as we clearly saw in the documentary, 1, the club wanted to keep him, and 2, Daniel Levy clearly alluded to the fact that they can't speak to him. He was saying that everything went through his agent, and for me, it sort of struck a nerve to me as to how powerful football agents are now in this business. And it was crazy because Eriksen was the one that was making the comments in the summer, but obviously the club are trying to negotiate deals with him. And Levy, the biggest, sort of the most important man at a club who literally signs off on all the deals, he's saying he can't even get through to him because it's all going through his agent. It's a weird one. But I think it's a worrying direction where football's heading, to be honest. But I just wanted to throw that out there.
I agree that, you know, to an extent, I think certain agents have a little bit too much power in the game that is direction going. But what I will say with Eriksen, I do hope a couple of the, trying not to swear here because we have a professional in our midst, you know, a couple of the men who were like, you know, F off Eriksen towards the end of the season, you know, Tobes, I think you've been one of the bigger advocates of let's not forget what he did prior to, and even in this season just gone, or the half season just gone, where, you know, it was getting a bit peak, it was getting a bit tight, and we still had to bring him on to sort of to get us going, to get us a bit more fluid in the final third. I think Jose literally said it, like, when Eriksen isn't there, yeah, we do look a little bit more structured and everyone's pressing as one, but there isn't, that spark is just missing. You know, whether he's looking a bit, you know, cumbersome, laborious, you know, if he still gets the ball, something can still happen. There were times where he would just come on and just look a tiny bit more, you know, intricate. So I think it was a nice, I mean, for me personally, I was obviously upset with the way, I say upset, like he's my guy, but I was a bit annoyed at the way he left.
He's your guy as well, come on.
He's our guy. But obviously, like, I think it was a bit nicer to see where it's like he was just genuinely like, look, I've been honest, I said what I want to say, and I think there has to be some sort of leeway. Like, I think a lot of people forget that these guys aren't people that you just press buttons on PS4. They're not man that just press buttons on FM20. Like, these are human beings. Like, he's been there for so long. He's given so much. Psychologically, it's just not going to hit the same. Do you know what I mean? There's only so you can think to yourself, yes, I'm going to give everything, but if your heart genuinely isn't in it through no fault of your own, like, there's only so much you can ask of you. And if you're still, to a degree, pulling out the goods when you pull off the bench, like, I think it's only fair that everyone's, you know what, you know, just do what you got to do. You can go, like, farewell sort of thing, not the way a certain section of the fan base sent him off, basically. So that's what I liked. It just gave Eriksen that sort of chance to say a little bit more of his piece through there.
Yeah. I think another point as well, I just wanted to sort of go around the room on before we move on, was just it seems like our two of our most senior players, Harry Kane and Jan Vertonghen, just the epitome of professionals. Like Jan Vertonghen, you could see that like he loves the club through and through. And I must say, I know he needed to leave because obviously he's not at the level that we need anymore. But I really felt sad watching the scenes where he's talking about Spurs, how long he's been here, how his kids are settled here, and how he needs to sort of toss and turn with that decision on whether he's going to leave. Obviously, he's left us eventually now, but it just him and watching Harry Kane speaking during some of like the team debriefs, Harry Kane in training and stuff, like they're just the ultimate professionals. It was just really good to see. And I think that's where I could sort of take a lot of positive out of the documentary. And what I can hope for is that we see a lot more in-depth analysis on some of these players and the inner workings of a club over the next couple of episodes. So before I move on, does anyone else have anything they wanted to say? No? Okay.
I think Ohio makes a great point, Ericsson. I mean, I'm a massive fan of his. He's given a huge chunk of his career to Spurs, and I don't think it's necessarily his fault. You can't blame someone for wanting a new challenge. But I get it, right? A lot of fans didn't like his attitude in the last few months, and they think he didn't try 110%. And I acknowledge that. Shouldn't have been there. And he should have left in the summer or before that. I totally agree with that. But my point is for Tottenham Hotspur is they need to replace his goals and his assists. I don't think people realise just how much Spurs missed him, and they will miss him going forward as well. He was second to David Silva in the goals, the assists, the key passes, in everything. And Spurs need to get that back. And I don't think it's necessarily a change of style. You see what Bruno Fernandes, I know he's got a lot of penalties, don't get me wrong, what Bruno Fernandes did when he joined United. Spurs need that kind of. It's a shame we didn't sign the Van der Beek, someone like that. But I just think Spurs lack a creator, someone who can spot pass quicker than most. At the moment, I just feel we've got pace, but not enough guile, and that's where I think we'll miss Ericsson.
Yeah, and funnily enough, the player that we're about to sort of touch on next on our next talking point is a player who, to a certain extent, could fill that void, but it's just a case of what sort of the general opinion is of him right now and whether the deal will be possible. So it's the one man who gets linked with us every single summer without fail.
He's just been subbed off, by the way.
Oh, has
for Wales.
It's ridiculous. He gets linked with us every single window, January, summer, without fail, and it never materializes. So it's a much maligned sort of Gareth Bale. He also his interview the other day with I think it was either, I can't remember what newspaper it was, where he basically said that Madrid are holding him at gunpoint, really, like they're vetoing every single move that's coming in. So I want to get the general thoughts on Gareth Bale. Hypothetically speaking, would you lot take Gareth Bale if a deal was indeed possible?
No. No, you go.
No.
I just think he's got to a point. I do think Real Madrid would potentially be open to doing a similar deal that Manchester United did with Alexis Sanchez, with the loan move to Inter. Whether it be permanent or not afterwards would be another thing. But it's been my strong opinion for a couple of years now, where he's unfortunately picked up a few of these injuries, which I thought have made him lose that explosiveness in his game, which I thought was probably his biggest weapon. And seeing that and his age being 31 now, I don't like writing off old players too much, but with the injury history, yeah, I don't fancy it, to be honest.
Ero, you wanted to say something?
I was gonna say, hypothetically speaking, like if we're not talking from like a financial kind of point of view, I think Bale could be that kind of player who could bring that spark that we were talking about. We've lost with Ericsson, with the gap or the hole that Ericsson's left. I know it would be very short term, especially like with the age and the injury history as well. But I mean, somebody who has that kind of experience, somebody who has that kind of mentality, being in the dressing room as well, with those kind of players, I think it just works. I think it helps to bring that balance to the side. So that's another thing that I wanted to talk about this episode as well. Mourinho, he put a lot of emphasis on us being like a nice side, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think Bale is somebody as well who could come and bring that edge. Like, I think Real Madrid have made things very hard for him, and he hasn't played like very nice. I should say, like, what was it that he said? Wales, golf, Madrid, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I just think he could bring, in that order, he could bring that kind of mentality to the club, man. And I just think it's something we're lacking just a little bit of it at the moment. I think we had it a couple of years ago, and it just seems to be up in the air at the moment.
I know I said hypothetical, but I think one thing that we are lacking is some Chinese yuan or renminbi or whatever their currency is called. We don't have the dinero for Gareth Bale. We don't have the dosh. We don't have dosh. This is a guy who's getting offered. Sorry, this is a guy that was getting offered 1.2 million a week from an unnamed Chinese Super League club a couple months back. I know, obviously, like you said, Owen, there is a possibility that Real Madrid would be willing to possibly let him go, maybe on like reduced terms. But even if that's the case, what's to say that we could offer him the best possible deal and best possible package?
See, this is why we need Michael's hunch. We need Michael's superstitions to come through, because we need the pesos from Jeff Bezos. That is what we need. Bezos pesos. If we get them, then they can run. But until then, it is not happening. And that is my Gareth Bale take. Finished. I'm going to mute.
Straight mute.
All right, so Sai and Michael, I'm coming to you lot next. So Sai, do you think that like he has a base in this team, or do you think that the team have to sort of readjust to a sort of like a new sort of setup just to accommodate him? Because we were talking about this off air about how Mourinho sort of started towards the end of the season, how he sort of started to get balance right. Would the signing of Gareth Bale be sort of like a fitting into that sort of system straight away, or is it like we have to sort of rejig?
If you asked me this maybe 2 years ago, a year ago even, I would have said absolutely not, because we would have had to adjust to accommodate his style of play. Whereas now, with Mourinho playing quite a rigid type of system in terms of you have your banks of more defensive players, and then you have the guys who are responsible to create and burst forward and score the goals. I think Bale fits into that. There would be ways to protect him as well with the way that we play our right backs. So I think it's more feasible from a style of play than it was previously. But again, the money is a massive stumbling block.
Okay, Michael, we need some of your sort of like insider info here. Like, what are the possibilities of us actually signing Gareth Bale? Because we hear it on the news, we hear it from all sorts of sources. Bookies keep slashing the odds, but are you hearing any inner rumblings?
None. Zilch. None at all. I hate being that guy. But
How you said this? Because I keep telling this to my friends that I don't think it's going to happen, and they don't want to believe me.
the thing is, Tony, it will need Real Madrid to wipe off any fee. Yeah, that's a massive scenario. So that's one. And then it needs Gareth Bale to chop his wages by 70%. That's two things I cannot see. What triggered this was that his interview gave to Sky yesterday, my colleague Geraint, that he's not finished. He's still got the enthusiasm. He wouldn't rule out playing in the Premier League. The point is that there's so many obstacles to get over before we could even consider signing Gareth Bale. I just don't know. Talk about a loan package, for example. How much would the loan fee be? How much would we contribute to Bale's wages? I can't see Real Madrid saying, go on, well, you give us half. Because that contract they gave Bale was so astronomical. It kind of rules Bale out. I mean, look at it last season. He was close to joining a Chinese club because they were the only country or region that were prepared to pay that sort of money. I don't think we'd even be talking about it if Bale didn't sort of give us a kind of hint yesterday that he'd be up doing it. It would take so many obstacles for even contemplate it. If Spurs were offered something, this is the biggest if all time, but if Spurs were offered some kind of financial package that they could work under, then yeah, 100% they might consider it, but I can't see that happening. So that's why I can't see it. I've heard no grumblings, I've heard no inquiries. Nothing. There hasn't been. I've always ruled it out. And the thing is with bookie odds, people get excited because those markets are they're very quiet, to be honest. You think like everyone bets on a horse race one Saturday afternoon. That's what moves the markets. But the manager markets and the player transfer markets only usually move when, I don't know, Gary from Romford puts £100. He's just heard Bale saying he wants to play in the Premier League. And then a bookie will sort of mark it up a bit different. Yeah. But ultimately, there's nothing in it. So if you're asking me now, I can't see it happening in a million years. Would I like it? Yeah. If there's, yeah, I would. But I just can't see it at the moment. I genuinely cannot see it because of the financial, just the side we've got, the problem we've got at the moment.
Yeah, well explained, and I fully agree as well. And I think everyone here, maybe not so much Owen, but I think everyone here would agree that if Gareth Bale was offered, if there was a possibility to get him back to the club, we would all take him. But I do respect Owen's opinion because a lot of Spurs fans will ignore or turn blind to the fact that the Gareth Bale that we see today isn't the same Gareth Bale that we saw even 2 years ago, or let alone the Gareth Bale that left Tottenham. Like, this is a Gareth Bale that gets injured every season. This is a Gareth Bale that even when he is fit and he's playing, yes, he can still win you a match, but in terms of the in-game consistency, in-game performances, it's not the same Gareth Bale. So essentially, going and spending north of whatever, 400, 500k on a guy who's most likely going to miss at least a third of the season, at least, and a player who's getting older, he's 31 years old. I just personally think, as good as Gareth Bale is, and as much as I'd want him at the club, there are cheaper alternatives that could probably give you the productivity that he could give you right now. That's just my general opinion. I don't know what you think on that.
I think certain Spurs fans, like, and I don't know about how I actually feel about the Bale team, but you know the ones in school, yeah, there was that girl that peaked at like 18 when you were in opposite form. She was the pinnacle, yeah. And you get to 24, and then she wasn't feeding you back then. And then 24, 25, she pops up on Instagram. You're like, wait, this isn't how I remember you were. You know, like that could be a similar scenario. So we've got to be a bit careful. You know what I mean? We've got to be careful.
Great analogy, and it's so true as well. It's so true. But I think that's pretty much it for the Gareth Bale chat. I think we're unanimous in the fact that we would take him back, but I think the resources that we need to have to even acquire a player on that type of money just makes the deal financially impossible for us right now. But here's to hoping anyway. One player who is actually at our club, who's been rumoured to be on his way out, Tanguy Ndombele. So, Michael, we spoke about this when you came on our pod a few months back, and obviously your colleague Darmesh, he came out. I think it was yesterday afternoon, and he sort of.
When I spit bars in a rave, man, I go hard like Santan.